This is a Miami Sports Music Podcast Network production. This is the #1 Miami fan morning show. Clock Blockers, let's go.
I know the whole city riding. A little early, it's a bit surprising. Business moves, now we enterprising. Switch it up, now we improvising. Go to get in the winter column. Whole squad been trained to go.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy, Stephen D. It is the #1 Miami fan morning show. What is up? Super excited to be hanging out with y'all on Friday, on Spread Kindness Friday, on February 17th of the year 2023. Super excited y'all are hanging out with us today. Could have been anywhere in the world, but you decided to be here with us, and I appreciate it. Big deal. Big deal. What's going on? I want to say good morning to my family with a PH and my Finlaws that are out there wherever you are currently listening in the world. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. My name is Stephen D. You can follow me at Stephen D. SKPL. Spread kindness, positivity, and love. You can follow me on all social media platforms. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. Big Twitter guy. Trying to get my Twitter game up. Twitter game up. Make sure y'all follow me at Stephen D. SKPL. Make sure you follow Miami Sports Music at Miami Sports Music everywhere except on Twitter, where we are at MIA Sports Music. Make sure you follow us there too. Okay? If you haven't done so already, hit the like button. Hit it. It doesn't cost anything to hit the like button. It's free. And subscribe to the channel. That's also free. Subscribing and hitting the like button is literally you lifting up your finger, taking your phone, and going like this. Like, make sure I'm subscribed. And when you see that bell notification on the side, make sure you click it and you hit all notifications. Big deal. Okay, that helps us grow. You get notified anytime we are live. Okay, make sure y'all do that. Big deal. Okay. Also, hey, look, you want to sign up and become a member today? Make sure y'all do that. Sign up, become a member of the family. Make sure y'all do that today. If you look in the description below, you will see sign up to become a member today. Sometimes your membership doesn't automatically get renewed. For whatever reason. For example, our boy Chef Shu says, just renewing my membership. Sometimes the card gets messed up, whatever it is. So you know what Chef Shu is? He says he became a new member, but he's always been a member. He's always been part of the family here at Miami Sports Music. Always. So, and you don't lose your time. It still counts your previous time that you've been a thing. So if it lapses or you used to be a member, make sure you sign back up. Roll it on over. It's a big deal. Kazlin says, you ain't got no Twitter game. Kaz, I got Twitter game. I got heavy Twitter game, Kaz. Kaz just called me out on Twitter. Look, can't be doing that, man. Okay? All right, Kaz. You and your take yesterday or this week, and now you're calling me out on Twitter. Oh, it's on, Kaz. It's on, Kaz. All right. Adam Sadowski upgrading his membership. Loves the product here at Miami Sports Music and upgrading. I appreciate it, Adam. That's what I'm talking about right there. Make sure y'all do that. I like it. Keep it up. Keep up the good work. Also, hey, look, you want to help the channel grow by donating? There's lots of different ways you can do that, okay? You can use the YouTube Live Super Chat, which is the $sign below the bottom of the chat, okay? You see that right there on your screen on YouTube. You see a little triangle with a $sign in a minute, or rectangle triangle. It's not a triangle. I need to know it is a rectangle box. I just said triangle. I need to go back to elementary school. Okay. I need to talk to my kids. I don't know it's Friday. Okay. I know what a triangle is. I know what a rectangle is. That rectangle box with the $sign in the middle. You hit that button, you can give us super stickers or super chats. Here, why don't somebody try it out? Just make it like $100, whatever it is, whatever you're comfortable with. And that way you can show everybody how it works. We'll just make it as an example. It'll be real money, but you can just make it as an example. Whatever it is. Anyways, you guys can hit that. And if you're rewatching us on replay, and you're not watching us live right now, but if you are watching us live, you're probably watching us live. See, I don't know. Anyways, there's a heart sign with a $sign in the middle. Bam. Caslin says, you don't want any of this smoke. $2 donation. Nick Jur says, good morning, Steven. Fins up. Y'all are on it. Let's have a big donation day today. Let's help this channel grow. I love it. I love it, man. Hey, another way you can also donate to the channel, you can use Cash App or PayPal. See the QR code right up here on your screen. MSM Podcast Network. You can also do PayPal, which is also MSM Podcast Network, or use the QR code right here on your screen. Okay? Want to give a big shout out to our sponsors of the show, ZSM Sports. Cars, jerseys, balls, and hard-to-find items. Make sure you follow ZSM Sports today. Hangry Owls, good food, good mood, craft subs, and salads. Make sure you give them a call at 305-279-5332. Vezasor in Wynwood, Miami, Florida. Make sure you follow the Vezasor Brewing Company. Why is that? Because they have born and raised the official beer of Clock Blockers, a beer created for the fans, by the fans, just like this podcast, just like this morning show, just like flip-floppers or cat blockers, or clock blockers. A great place to sit.com. You need a place to sit anywhere in the world. Make sure you greatplacetosit.com. In the description below, you will see everything there, including the phone number 954-989-7979. Use the code word DWA to get an additional 5% off on your tickets. All right. And last but not least, Tail Greeter. We love us some Tail Greeter. Download the app today on your current Apple or Android device. Today's the last day I have. All right. So a little over a month ago, I said, look, if y'all donate a certain amount, I will say something nice. And y'all donated a certain amount to the channel, and I had to say something nice for 4 weeks, for a month, for Tail Greeter, or for Apple. One nice thing about Apple Day, because it's all about Team Android over here. Well, Team Android. Okay. So Apple, I got to say one last nice thing about Apple. So here's what I will say about Apple. Apple did the halftime show at the Super Bowl with Rihanna, who, you say what you want, girl was pregnant and still did her thing at halftime. I mean, it wasn't great. Let's get that straight. It wasn't the best halftime show ever. But she was pregnant and like 40 stories up or whatever it was. I'm exaggerating, but she was high up in the air. Look, I got to give credit where credit's due. Okay. But I will also say Apple Music had a really cool commercial with super fans singing one of her songs, and Allie was in it. Doll Freaky. She was in it for like 1.2 seconds, but my girl, okay, my sister from another mister, she was in it. All right. So there's your one nice thing about Apple. I'm not ever saying anything nice about Apple ever again. You got 30 days out of me. No more. Team Android all day. Let's go. Not doing it no more. Can't stand it. It is Spread Kindness Friday. That's right. We're going to talk Dolphins news. We're going to talk a lot of different things. But you know what means on Spread Kindness Friday? It means my brother from another mother is coming up. Ladies and gentlemen, he's a good man. He's a handsome man. There's not too much to say about this guy other than he is Jason Sarday. You're on mute, Jason. Got to take yourself off mute.
I'm not a smart man. Obviously, but appreciate the love. Good morning, Steven.
Dude, what is up, man? Good morning.
How are you? Good morning. Crazy morning in my house. Kids are off from school on a little
Kids are off from school in mine, which is like you texted me at 8:30 this morning. So, couple things. Number one, I stayed up till like 3 a.m. last night. Okay. I stayed up till 3 a.m. watching the 5-part documentary on ESPN Plus about Banana Land for the Savannah Bananas.
Oh, yeah.
The independent league. They are essentially like the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball. Okay. And I'm a huge fan of them, and I want to try to figure out a way to incorporate them and do some stuff with them, because they're absolutely amazing. But neither here or there. I watched their 5-part miniseries on ESPN Plus, and it was absolutely great. So I stayed up till like 3 a.m. watching that.
I got to check that out.
It was really good. And then I was pretty much I pretty much was asleep, and the kids are home all day today, and my wife is home. So I was up. I got your message, but I was like busy like dealing with them, and I'm like, why are y'all up so early? Daddy needs sleep.
It would have been nice to sleep in. But
so yeah, that's what I was dealing with this morning, and so now I'm here. I'm hanging out. Let's be real. Jason is the only reason we are here. That's probably true, Caslin. No lie, Jason definitely, he helped me out this morning. He's like, "Oh, we do the show. What are we doing? What are we doing, Steve?"
I was ready to roll, man.
We're going on at 10 a.m.
Dog got us up early, took him for a little rainy walk, and was just all right. I'm not getting back to bed. So
where you live in PA, right?
Yeah, it's really kind of gross out here right now.
No, that it's raining here and stuff like that. So, couple things, man. How's the family? How's your basketball going? So, for those of you who don't know, Jason and I coach 7 and 8-year-old basketball. We both
7 and 8-year-old
basketball. I coach my son. He coaches his son. How are they doing?
They're improving, which is good. We got a couple of kids who are like the scorers, a couple of kids who are like the ball handlers, and the other kids, I just say, play good defense, and it's been working. But they are improving.
Well, we have yet to score more than 2 points in a game. Okay.
Are you on regulation baskets? Do you lower them?
No, we're on regulation baskets using the bigger size ball, but according to the rule book, we should be on 8-foot baskets with the smaller ball. I don't know why they're doing that, but that's neither here or there. Which I guess it does make a difference. But my son has scored like almost every point that we've scored this year, except for like 4. I think we played. I don't know how many games we played, but we did play like the 5 and 6-year-old team because they don't have any real games.
Got to beat up on the 5 and 6-year-olds.
My son had a double-double, 10 points, 10 rebounds. Yes, sure did against the lower level team, but it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Stat
it's a win. So they won like what was it, 20-12? They won 20-12. So
a W is a W.
A 5 and 6-year-old team was pretty. I was like, they're legit. They're going to be good next year. They're going to be a lot better than we were next year.
They're pacing better.
100%. So, but yeah, my son has scored like almost every point in the league. So, I mean, it's only been 2 every game, but nonetheless, we have another. There's 2 teams in our neighborhood, like where we live at in Joppa. So there's a team A and a team B, and they're both 7 and 8. And normally, what the league wanted us to do was split the talent down the middle. But what the coaches ended up doing was all the beginners went to one team, which is the team that we're coaching, and all the the talent and the people that have had went to the other team. And we scrimmaged them once a week, and so yeah, we've gotten better playing against them. So I know that we've improved, but all of our games have been like 20-2, except for like 1.
Got to balance it out.
It was last Saturday. They scored 2. The opposing team scored 2 points in the first quarter, and so it was 2-0 at the end of the first. And we're like, okay, all right, look, we got something here. And then they went on a big run in the second half. I don't know what happened. They made the adjustments. But the other thing that was interesting too is we had a parent get kicked out.
Oh God, I hate it when parents go crazy. What did this one do?
Oh well, so in his defense, the other coach was being very mouthy to about some of our kids. Look, they're killing us, right? Like they're a much better team than we are. And so there's certain rules in 7 and 8-year-old basketball. Like you can't do full court press.
Right.
Your defense has to be stacked up behind the 3-point line. They can't try to go out and try to, do that. If they go, there's a couple of other just small little rules that make a big difference. And so we have one kid who's very energetic. Okay, he's very energetic and he's everywhere. He's on the court all the time, all at once, right? And he wasn't at practice last night. Now that I think about it, but he was there and he was going all over the place and he was running into kids, but he wasn't being bad. Like he was going after the ball. There was nothing egregious about it. Well, the coach, who's got like 4 kids that are a lot taller than the other kids, is like this kid is bad. He's already should have been fouled out. And so the parent was like, this is ridiculous. Are you kidding me? Why are you trying to get my kid fouled out? Like, we're playing the game. He's the best. He's clearly the most aggressive on the court. You're going to take the most aggressive kid that's playing against your team off the court. And so I think the dad had a legit argument with but they're 7 and 8, nobody fouls out. Like, there's no fouling out.
There's no
and
foul.
So the coach was trying to get the ref to kick the kid out. And the dad was not having it. And so he cussed him out right in the middle of the, it was bad. It wasn't good. It was not a good look. They paused the game and everything. I was like, man, what's up? So I had to go like talk the kids, down and everything. But he's a good kid, and his dad's a good guy. I like him a lot. They're both really good. He just needs to listen more and just be more disciplined. And that's the thing with 7 and 8 year olds that you're dealing with. You're like, all right, I got to deal with the parent and the kid. And so I'm only an assistant coach. I'm not even a head coach.
Same here. I mean, I enjoy like instructing. I enjoy, doing what I can to help. But there's a certain like line that I just don't cross. If the parents want to talk with the head coach, let them talk to the head coach. I'm here to really kind of lend the support, keep the time on the sidelines. You know what I mean? It's like I'm the assistant, so I don't really love to jump into the politics with the parents. It's been calm this year. Soccer, I've seen it be a little worse.
So I've heard horror stories about parents. So the guy who coaches our team coaches baseball and soccer, and he says parents in baseball and soccer are like ridiculous, like really bad, really bad. And so so this is the second time I've ever coached anything like an assistant. The first time I did was junior basketball, and I was an assistant coach there when I was still in high school. I was coaching a junior basketball league team as like an internship. Junior NBA league is what it was called back then. I don't know what it's called now, if that still even exists or not, but that's what it was called back then. And I mean, parents, man, I can remember being a kid playing t-ball, and it was called Babe Ruth League, right? Yep. Was that what it was called? Babe Ruth League? Man, we saw some parents just straight up cuss out some umpires when I was a kid. I remember that.
I used to, growing up, I always had odd jobs, umpiring, refereeing, delivering pizzas, all that fun stuff. But one of my most enjoyable, but at also same time hated weekend jobs was umping, softball, baseball. And I remember one game, I got into it with a parent. This girl it was a softball game. The girl was pitching, couldn't find the strike zone. I felt terrible. After 3 straight walks, you can move it to 8-ball count. Couldn't find, it was walking people on the air. I finally had to call just a couple of strikes that were like not maybe strikes, but I felt
you're trying to help the girl out, and there's clearly a disadvantage.
And of course, he catch the batter whose dad was like, not very happy with his daughter being necessarily, I guess, the victim of striking out to a person where the whole team basically walked around the bases essentially. So it was going crazy, and I was just trying to say, like, sir, if you don't mind, these are kids. We're also trying to encourage and not, what do you want me to do here? We called about 67 straight ball. It was a horrible moment. But I
clearly see that this other kid is not. Yeah, man, unbelievable. Kenna says, I coach baseball, and the single mothers are okay to me. Haven't had any problems yet, but they do go in on the umpires. Yeah, dude. So I was asked to coach t-ball this year. My son doesn't know if he wants to play yet or not. He hasn't given me an official answer, but we'll have to see what happens, man, because I'm a little nervous about baseball because I feel like it's a totally different thing. And baseball umpires are like on a shortage and everything. And
what do you think? It's because of the social media that gets captured all over the place of parents going nuts. And
you're going to go viral, son. Right. I mean, I've seen some really good viral videos where the umpire's like, you think you can do better? Take your $45. I'm done. Like, I'm not.
Right. It's exactly right. It's like you could do this as a side venture. A lot of these people could be working as teachers or whatever their regular professions are, retired people or just kids. Like I mentioned that I was doing. It's not like this is their profession, umping or refereeing children's sports, and like when parents go after them, it's kind of pathetic, frankly.
I feel bad for the kids.
I feel bad for the kid. That's well said. I mainly feel bad for the kid.
So yeah, so enough about crazy parents.
We're off this week. I got no game on Sunday, and I can't wait.
No, we have a game tomorrow across the street at our local high school. So we got 2 more games left. 2 more. So how many games do you guys have left?
2 or 3. 2 or 3.
Yeah, we got two games left. I'm pretty excited about it. And I don't know, there might be a tournament too. So
there's no tournament, no playoffs. We got 2 or 3 and
we're done. Well, then I might be wrong about that too. There might be none, but I don't know. They just tell me to show up and I show up. Okay.
Same here.
When do you need me? Okay.
Exactly.
Type of parent I am. All right. So before we get into everything else, have you been watching any other sporting events? Just a little quick thing. I'm a huge NASCAR person. Watch NASCAR. I love NASCAR. Watch the Blue-Green Vacation duels races last night. Was up till like 11 watching that. And then I watched the rest of the Banana Land stuff. But 2 pretty good races. I know you're not a big NASCAR fan, but I'm excited for Sunday. Daytona 500 is going to be really, really cool. Little cool couple side things. Travis Pastrana qualified for the Daytona 500 with 23.
Like an ex-gamer?
Yeah, so Travis Pastrana is a huge, motocross and dirt bike and X Games and just does crazy stuff. He actually lives up here in Maryland.
Oh, sweet.
Right outside Annapolis. He's got a huge farm, but it's all like just crazy stuff for like cars. He does motor rally and everything. But he's done truck. He's done truck, and he's actually racing in the truck series tonight in Daytona. It's really cool, actually, if you think about it. So NASCAR has a lot of different series. You have the Cup Series, which is the big one. You have what was the Busch Series. I don't know what it's called. It might still be called the Busch Series. It's the lower level. And then you have the Truck Series. And then below the Truck Series, you have what's called ARCA, which is ARCA is just there's an ARCA East and an ARCA West and a national ARCA Series. And it's basically just they're other cars. I don't know how to say it, but ARCA Series is just a lower level racing league that NASCAR funds. And it's a lot of up and coming drivers, a lot of young drivers, 18, 19-year-olds, or people that want to get back into racing that were in racing in the past, right? So ARCA Series has Malcolm in the Middle's Frankie Muniz, who was a huge motocross person, or not motocross, but he's like motorsports.
Yeah, I've seen.
So he's going to be full-time in ARCA this year. So Frankie Muniz is racing tomorrow afternoon in the ARCA Series. Travis Pastrana is racing tonight, and he's racing on Sunday in the Daytona 500. And then Jimmy Johnson, who had retired, went to IndyCar for a few years.
Wow.
7-time champion in NASCAR, is coming back as an independent driver with Legacy Motorsports, which is a brand new club. Essentially, it's what like Petty GMS used to be, Richard Petty's company and stuff, but it's really, really cool. So I know you don't care about any of this stuff, but I'm a huge NASCAR person.
I appreciate it. Listen, I appreciate any kind of situation where people are invested in, but I've just never I know the Daytona 500 is like the Super Bowl.
It's the Super Bowl of motor racing.
Right.
There's so much more to it. And like for me, what it used to be, so NASCAR now opens up their series on the West Coast in LA in the Coliseum, and they do this little rally. It's called the Clash. And essentially it's inside a football stadium. They pave it. That was a couple of weeks ago. What used to happen in Daytona was they called it Daytona Week, and it was 11 days, and every single day there was a motor racing event at Daytona International Speedway, which included the 24-hour Rolex race, which there's every car gets 4 drivers and they race for 24 hours. It's really, really, it's like Le Mans.
Right. The movie.
All right. Le Mans is essentially the most famous auto race in the world. Daytona is the most it's not the Daytona 500, but it's the US's version of the Le Mans. So they have that here at Daytona. And so it includes that. They have bike races, they have ARCA, truck, everything, right? They even have little lower tier leagues and they race. And it's 11 days. It used to be like that. They don't do that anymore. So now it's like 7 days, 6 days. And you showed up Wednesday for the first day. And you don't even get practice. You qualify for the Daytona 500 before you even practice on the first day to see who's going to get the first 2 spots. And then last night, depending on where you finished at in qualifying, is where you started in the Gatorade. Well, it's not called Gatorade. It's called the Blue Green Vacation, the dual 125s. And then they have the 2 races, and where you finish in that is where you'll start the Daytona 500. So the first race, you start on the left side. On the second race, you start on the right side. So, I'm a huge NASCAR fan. Kane's 1989 says, Steven and Jason, I've been to Daytona 500, and I recommend if you go, if you've never been. I love it, man. Kevin Lee says, you ever watch Top Fuel drag racing? I do a lot. No, I never got into drag racing, man. I'm a huge – I was a huge Dale Earnhardt fan, and when Dale Earnhardt passed away, that was really big, and then I was a big Junior fan. And then when Junior – got his concussion, I kind of got out of NASCAR for a long time. And then 2 years ago, I started to get back into it because of Bubba Wallace. And then I've been a big Bubba Wallace fan ever since. And, now I'm all, I listen to podcasts, door bumper clear. Like I'm all into all of motocross, and my wife hates it. She absolutely hates it. She's like, what are you doing this Sunday? Watching the Daytona 500. Oh, great. Another left turn. So
that's kind of where I'm at.
That's all right. I'm excited about it. You don't have to be, but it's fun. It's funny. I said this is the slowest time of year for sports because it's right before March Madness, which I'm really excited about. And the Super Bowl just ended. Here's the reality. This weekend, there's NASCAR. There's XFL, which starts this weekend. You gonna watch some XFL?
Yeah, I'm gonna experiment. I hope that it's a good product, and I hope that it's really kind of that farm or college and NFL in between, where it really kind of helps those in betweeners get to that, I guess, national recognition, and then hopefully they could parlay that into an NFL career. But I am excited. I'm gonna root for the Guardians. You got ex-Dolphins, Terrell Buckley, and Lamar Thomas leading the team there. So
Terrell Buckley is there. Yes, sir, he is. Bob Stoops is a coach there. Wade Phillips is a coach there. I was looking at some of their coaches today, man. They have
some big names,
really big names in the XFL coaching. But I thought it was really, really cool. And then this weekend is also the NBA All-Star game, an All-Star weekend.
That is the NBA Super Bowl.
So well, it's really, really weird. Caslin with the $2 donation says, I've coached baseball for years. Parents are bad. No doubt about that, Caslin. No doubt about that.
Big bad.
I'm a huge you and I have an appreciation for basketball that most people don't have. We've had conversations about it, but I was watching I was looking at social media, and I saw like the 3-point contest and the slam dunk competition. I don't know how the NBA does, it doesn't look exciting. Like there's like 3 big names in the 3-point competition this year. And there's all like these rookies and nobody I've ever really heard of in the slam dunk competition. And I don't know how the NBA gets around that because it's just not that fun to watch anymore.
I mean, I agree with you. And, I huge NBA fan growing up, even at sometimes more almost than the NFL in my early days, teenage days, early mid 90s. But back then when there was no social media, there was, a couple of cable channels outside of your networks, an NBA All-Star weekend where that was your viewing, that what was on TV versus maybe you're just catching a good program on Thursday nights. You know what I mean? That was something you look forward to. And now we kind of take those things for granted from a product standpoint. From within the product, I think it is a little bit lazy from the NBA nowadays that they are not putting premium players in a slam dunk contest, in a 3-point shootout. I mean, look, back in the day. Go ahead, Steve.
I don't understand why the the big name players would not want to be in the slam dunk competition, but it's something that the NBA started allowing that, in the last 10 years, and then players just were like, I'm not doing it. And honestly, and this is my biggest knock on LeBron. I mean, I love LeBron. I'm a LeBron guy. My biggest knock on him is he never did the slam dunk competition.
I'll throw that there too, because again, growing up, to me, one of the best dunk contests ever was Jordan versus Dominique. I mean, you had two premier players, two top 50 players, two of the best all-stars at the time going at it at the exhibition, before the exhibition. And then when you look at the 3-point contest, you have guys like Larry Bird shooting and winning when he didn't even take off his warm-up shirt. The story where he walked into the locker room and said, all right, who's playing for second? I'm not even going to take my shirt off. And then boom, that's when it meant something. And then you had stars do both. I remember when Kenny Smith was a player.
Yep.
He was in the 3-point contest and
I remember Kenny Smith as a player. Yes, I do.
Year. I'm just making sure.
I feel so disrespected that you had to ask me that.
Oh, I'm just making sure. There's a lot of youngins out there too. But when Kenny was in both, but unfortunately, I don't know why they don't have
the 3-point competition was big too. So, all right, here's the name. Here's the names this year for the 3-point contest in the NBA. Jason Tatum, big name, right? Essentially top 5 player in the league, maybe the top 10, definitely top 5, arguably. Okay, Kevin Huerter, Tyler Herro,
all right,
Miami,
yep,
in the building. Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, Damian Lillard, okay, Dame Time, Anthony Simmons, and Laurie Markin.
Yeah. Well,
So Damian Lillard, Tyler Herro, and Jason Tatum. But the other names, they're not that big.
I just think it's become, again, and I think it goes to just what else is on, what else is there things to do. People's attention spans have gotten so limited.
The sad part is there's nothing else on, so that they don't have to compete with anything.
But even so, there might be nothing else on live. But I'm saying the streaming options, the things to do, it's just there's more options for people to entertain themselves these days, instead of locking into the limited sports that might be on during All-Star weekend. So I just think that mixed with the lack of talent, maybe as opposed to 20 years ago, that's why we're probably dealing with lower ratings for the All-Star weekends or All-Star games.
Well, and let me be fair. Caslin said the MLS starts this week. Steven, also stop hating. There is other sports that are there. UFC has a big fight this weekend. It's not a big fight, but they have a fight on this weekend, so they have live stuff on Saturday night. MLS starts this weekend. There's some big hockey matchups. College basketball's in full swing. There's other content up there. I just feel like the NBA doesn't even try. That's my problem with them.
Funny thing is, a lot of people ask me, and I know this conversation, I guess, was starting that way, and I will be perfectly honest with you. The last 5 years, I have gotten so football and Dolphin centric, where I the love of other sports has not been there as it was 7 or 10 or 15 years ago.
Has it deteriorated?
It actually has. I mean, look, for me, I worked in baseball. I worked for the Mets a couple of years. I was also a big fan of the Mets. I was, when you put in a lot of the effort and you don't watch a team for years as a fan, you're almost working. It just became weird and more like a daily grind. And as a fan, the Mets very much disappointed you all the time. So I just, it took a lot.
Bro, I'm an Orioles fan. What are you talking about? I know all about disappointment in baseball.
Fair enough.
And I obviously keep up with the Marlins too, being a Miami fan.
But that's the thing. It's like putting a ton of, and look, you put in a ton of effort to your Dolphin coverage, fandom, content creation, and same here, same with a lot of people, and then mixed with that in other sports. And I was at one point as passionate a Met fan as I was a Dolphin fan, kind of. NBA, I grew up player
I
centric.
have a question for you.
Go ahead.
Why did you fall out? Was steroids a big reason that you fell out? Be honest with me. Be honest with me.
Yeah, I don't think
Why do you not love baseball anymore? Because here's what I've told people, all right? And we're going to get to Dolphins talk. We're going to talk Vic Fangio. We're going to talk free agents. We're going to get into all that. So just bear with us. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, but look, there's only so many hours and you can only talk about so many things for so long.
No, I love this.
So be honest with me. Like, I love baseball more than I love football, but I love the Dolphins more than anything. But I love baseball as well. I can watch Pittsburgh Pirates play the Cincinnati Reds.
I used to be that way. Growing up, I was thrown into every sport like all of us, and one of the most enjoyable things that I remember growing up in the baseball sense was playing a board game called Stratomatic. I don't know if you ever heard of Stratomatic.
Yeah.
But it was basically
I never played it, but I've heard of it.
It was a precursor to fantasy sports basically it was the Dungeons and Dragons of baseball. Board game with dice and cards where you would literally either play, all right, Cincinnati Reds and Pittsburgh Pirates. You take the Pirates cards, I'll take the Reds cards, and all right, I'm going to have Rob Dibble pitch and you're going to have Doug Drabeck pitch. You know what I mean? So basically you just roll the dice based on the card and the combinations would come up on the statistical probabilities of what that player would be, so on and so forth. But on a rainy day in the summer with your buddies growing up, nothing was better. And then when we were teenagers, right before
I don't know if somebody else needs to tell you this, but you might be a nerd, Jason.
I'm a sports nerd. I'm a sports nerd.
You're a sports nerd.
I'm 1,000% a sports nerd.
I say that in loving, okay?
Not 1,000%. And the funny thing is, and I say like a summer, and I grew up where I basically spent my summers in like the upstate New York Catskill areas, and I grew up with a lot of people who we all spent our summers there with our families. And I grew up with, sibling combinations 5-7 years older than me, so me and my brother were always hanging out with some of the older kids with their sports loves. So they got me indoctrinated with this board game, right? But then it led to us saying, you know what? It's like 1992, 93. I'm 12, 13 years old. And we started to mix the cards up and have drafts, like a fantasy baseball draft. And all of a sudden I'm drafting Ricky Henderson and, Albert Bell on the same team. Cal Ripken. You know what I mean? And it's like, and my middle reliever is like, John Wetland or something like that. You know what I mean? I'm having such a good time constructing teams. And, I put a lot of effort and a lot of fandom into baseball, and I guess I just burnt out. Not the steroids, not the strike of mid-90s, just
it's
tough.
Fell
out of love.
I tell people all the time, baseball, basketball even, they're played every night or every other night, like baseball, basketball plays 3 games a week, baseball plays 5 to 6 games a week, right? And it's over the course of 6 months, 6+ months. And so it is tough to keep an audience engaged, especially when they're a losing team. Football has the standpoint of we have 17 games or 16 games, 17 games now. And even if your team sucks, you're still watching on Sundays because it takes 3.5 hours of your time one Sunday. Baseball will take 3.5 hours every night if you're really into it. And that's tough, right? And it's slow moving. It's not fast paced. Baseball has, which by the way, go watch Banana Land because I'm telling you, it's a really, really cool thing.
That I'm interested in. I love the sport.
I think they're onto something there. And I think that baseball could take just maybe 1 or 2 things of their game and incorporate that into the real game. And I'd be very interested to see where that goes. But I get it. I understand that. It is what it is. Somebody, Caslin says, you don't know the pain of trying to be an Oakland A's fan. Bro, you guys can't even get a baseball stadium. What are you talking about? You're right. We can't. Oakland A's fans are rough. 100%. Gabriel Sosa says the new format for the NBA All-Star game is dope, though. I am excited about this year for that, Gabriel.
The instant drafting and the
right. So in the past years, what they would do is they would get on TNT the week before and they would draft the teams. This year, they are doing it like old school backyard basketball. Literally before the game, LeBron James and I guess I think Giannis, I think it's Team Giannis and Team LeBron are going to center court. All the players are going to be there, and they're going to pick their teams right there on center court before the games. That is cool.
That is pretty cool.
It goes back to the old school days, like when at the playground, you choose and you see who gets picked last. And look, I think that's going to be a really cool thing. So I'm going to watch. I sit here talking all this trash. I'll watch the 3-point contest. I'm going to watch the slam dunk competition. I'm going to watch a little bit of MLS this weekend. I'm going to watch some UFC this weekend. I'm definitely watching NASCAR all weekend. I want to see Frankie Muniz in the ARCA series. I want to see my boy Travis Pastrana in the Truck series tonight. I'm going to watch all of it. And then I'm going to watch Bubba Wallace win the Daytona 500 on Sunday and shut all these haters up. Let's go.
The Bubba Wallace haters out there.
All the Bubba Wallace haters. It's so funny because I love LeBron and I love Bubba, and those two guys get so much hate. And some of it they brought on themselves. I'm not going to say they haven't, but I still love them both and support them till the day that I die. And yeah, Joey Logano sucks, Amicus. I hate Joey Logano.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I said it. Go.
We're hitting a nerve here on NASCAR here.
All right. Miami Sports Music's #1 Miami fan morning show.
Wait, Steve. Why don't we shift gears?
Oh,
right now
we can shift gears. I see what you did there, Jason. I like it. Let's shift gears a little bit. Let's go into some football talk, shall we? Did you see the social media this morning with Vic Fangio and our boy Travis Wingfield?
I did, and I'm no production or videography expert, but I believe that Vic Fangio was not a hologram. It's in fact him. Travis was talking to a flesh and blood human.
We can confirm Travis and Vic Fangio were definitely in the same room. They were real.
Good. Travis is really good, but he's not good where he was talking to a fake hologram and made it look as real as it is. I do believe that
I hope Travis was listening to that.
that Vic Fangio was truly in the building. I believe that he was. It looks as if they pulled it out.
It was really cool to see Vic Fangio in Dolphin gear.
It really was. It really was.
Like, okay, this is real. This is not a game. So I have a Philadelphia Eagles fan that lives in my apartment, and his son and my son are friends. And I'm talking to him yesterday, and I told him he's telling me his offensive coordinator left and his defensive coordinator left, and they became head coaches at Arizona and Indy respectively. And I said, yeah, man, Vic Fangio, he's like, we wanted him. I was like, I was scared you guys were going to come in at the last second and take him when you guys, lost those two guys. So I was really nervous. So when I saw the thing this morning with him in the Dolphins gear, it really did. Like, I laugh and I joke about it, but my heart was like, okay, it's real. Like, this is real. I don't have anything to worry about now. Forget the fact that he signed a contract. I just needed to see him in Dolphins gear doing an interview, talking about the Dolphins.
I mean, we all knew it was coming, and I get that there were people. Again, we live in a time right now where it's instant gratification. If news trickles out, everyone wants it confirmed then, like that second. But in actuality, we're talking about a guy who is, let's say finishing up or ending a gig. It's called a gig with the Eagles, probably moving and getting relocated, just taking care of all, not the X's and O's of football, but the crossing of the T's and dotting the I's of just his life. So sometimes that takes time, and lo and behold, he's a Dolphin. He's a defensive coordinator. And I think that it's the perfect mix to put his.
Did you listen to the Travis Wingfield interview?
Not the full thing. I kind of breezed through a couple of parts, but I need to sit down and listen to the whole thing because it came out a little bit before we went on.
So I listened to a small portion of it, not the entire thing, but here's what I got out of it. He said he's happy to be here. Mm-hmm. He said that he has not watched a lot of game film of the players. I'm a little skeptical about that. I'm pretty sure he has. Maybe he hasn't because he hasn't had time to. But the other thing that was really interesting yesterday too, or from the interview, I said yesterday from the interview is, he's going to grade people that are potential free agents here that were on the roster and, look at their film more closely than people that are currently under contract here because he wants to see, he wants to be able to have the eye test for himself. So I find that interesting, especially with free agency coming up and seeing where things go. We'll get into free agency here in a minute. But what are your thoughts about that? Like, think about the Byron situation, right? The Byron Jones situation. How does Vic Fangio pull that into his account? Because Vic Fangio, if he's smart, I think tries to retain somebody like Byron, right?
I'm going to say with a lot of confidence that he won't be a Dolphin next year.
No way, shape, or form.
Gun to head, someone literally walks down an alley and puts a gun to my head and says, will Byron Jones be a Dolphin right now? I'll say, no, put the gun down.
He did say 1,000% that he's bringing in a middle linebacker.
Oh, God, yeah. Not only do I want him to bring in that, I want him to draft one as well, and I want him to tutor and get Channing Tindall. So if you have options where you need to fill a linebacker room, that's number one, because they got 5 free agents. If you bring back, 40% of that, that's like, still 4 that you need to bring back in to fill your linebacker room because they have literally 2. They have Channing Tindall and Jerome Baker that you really could think about, and then you have Ginkle. Van Ginkle is a free agent. Sam McGuavin's a free agent. Duke Riley's a free agent. Melvin Ingram is a free agent. So outside of your, outside linebacker edge rushers, Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, you don't have your linebacking core. You need one. And I do think that if you attract one via free agency, with Fangio could definitely do, you draft another one with your 2nd or 3rd round picks this year. Actually, let's call it a 3rd round pick because you need to draft interior lineman, I think, with that 2nd round pick. But that's a conversation for another day. And you know what? I really want to see what he does with Channing Tindall. I'm very curious to see what a specialized linebacking defensive coordinator, because that's where his core strength is in the linebacking area. I'm very curious to see what Fangio can get out of Tindall.
What do you, let's talk a little bit about people that are on the roster on the defensive side. Josh Moser, who covers the Dolphins on Channel 10 down there.
He's great.
Had in a tweet yesterday, he said Dolphins need to lock up Christian Wilkins long-term.
100%.
Today.
100%.
Today.
Like, done it last midseason.
Why? So A, why is it important to lock him up now? B, what are the odds that they lock him up moving forward? And I mean, where do you see that relationship period?
There's no reason to believe that it's not going to be a marriage. I mean, when you see the way that he plays, when you know that he was a 1st round pick, when you look at the numbers, when you look at what he does for the lifeblood of the unit and the team, you got to reward a guy like that. You got to retain a guy like that. You hope that the feeling is mutual. I can't believe or say that it isn't, but if Wilkins wants to be a Dolphin, the Dolphins should just say, here's what you need. What do you need? So I would be absolutely floored and shocked if it doesn't happen. But you got to lock him up because he's the kind of guy who I would hope, if it comes time to, in a year or 2, renegotiate, restructure to help win a championship. This is a guy that won in college. He wants to win again. He knows what it's like to lift a championship. I think he'd be one of those team kind of guys that you sign the deal, and then you never know when we might need you to help us out. He'd be that kind of guy to do it also. Team captain, you need to re-sign a guy like that.
So we talk about how Vic Fangio is going to be an asset for Mike McDaniel on many different ways, and I want to get into that. But how much is Chris Greer going to take into account something that Fangio says or to deal with the personnel, especially on the defensive side, when it comes to contract extensions like Wilkins, when it comes to maybe potentially retaining somebody like Byron Jones, who hasn't had a great relationship or tenure with the Miami Dolphins in his time here, at least towards the end. But, maybe somebody like Fangio steps in and says, no, we need you. We want you to look, to me, I know you said that it's almost impossible. To me, I'm not saying it's not impossible. He's still under contract here as of this moment. I know June 1st will change some things. I understand that, but I just think that there's a world where he can stay. And so my question is about Fangio with Chris Greer. Chris Greer obviously had butted heads with Flores and personnel decisions, especially with personnel decisions. McDaniel, from what we know of, is put his input in, but he's only had one draft with him, right? So I don't know if they've butted heads or they disagree or not see. I'll say right now, I think they're very happy with the way things are going in the direction they're going, at least McDaniel and Greer being on the same page. If you bring in somebody like Vic Fangio, does he not come in and say, no, I want this guy, you're going to go get him for me? And how does Greer take that?
I think that in this case, when you have someone that's proven as Fangio, he should have the ear of the general manager and the management a little bit more so than a younger, less experienced coach for sure. Now, how that works is a big multiple phased moving part situation. Because, like, let's take Byron Jones for an example. Number one, I question his heart and work ethic overall from a football standpoint. So I don't know if he's, somewhere else next year. I don't know if he took a whole year off where essentially could have came back potentially week 4, week 5. So I just question the heart beyond Byron Jones. And there's a reason why nothing else. I don't know. The Byron Jones, to me, in my mind, just for sake of projecting the 2023 season, I've eliminated them. I've eliminated them from my mind to structure, hopefully, the team that we're going to see. Because if one way, shape, or form you get rid of Byron Jones, a lot of money opens up for sure. And then you have what I would consider a domino effect of positive from that. You have Xavier Howard, who is going to be back under Fangio, which could bring him back. Look, 80% of Xavier Howard from 2020 is still better than
75% of the league.
That's my math. It's the exact number. 80% of his best is better than 75% of the league now. So if Vic Fangio can soak up 80% of Xavier Howard for 1 or 2 seasons, take Xavier Howard.
On a restructured contract. I just want to throw that caveat in there. I want his contract restructured.
However, if Byron Jones is eliminated, you might not have to do that. But if push comes to shove where they need to come up with $4 million and Xavier Howard's restructure is the ticket to do it, it should be locked up. And Xavier should understand that.
Xavier better not push back on anything, because the Dolphins, at every way, shape, and form, the last 3 off seasons said, okay, Xavier did. I need people to understand this, because people said I'm crazy that they're like, no way Xavier restructures. The last 3 off seasons, that man went to the team and asked for renegotiation of a contract that he did only the year before.
With leverage, because he
3 years in a row.
And he had that leverage because he was performing fantastic. But the fact of the matter is that was a very unique situation.
But hold on, Jason. The team played ball with him. They didn't trade him.
I'm with you.
They went to the table with him and said, all right, this is what you want. Well, you had a down year last year. Your productivity was not up to standard the way that you're used to playing. By the way, nobody's mad at it 100%. Right. We get it. We understand. We also understand how integral and important part of this team you are. But do us a favor. We need some help financially with the cap. Restructure your contract a little bit. We're not asking you to take a huge hit. We're just asking you to restructure, take a little bit of less money this time. Because the last 3 all seasons, we've done it for you. The moment, because what I don't want is the Dolphins to go ask him. He gets pissed off about it. Bro, they went to you 3 off seasons in a row and heard you. And the moment they come asking you, you pitch a fit. Don't let that be the case, X. Which I don't think will be. I just want to throw that out there. But I think the Dolphins will.
If it does come to the fact where they need to do it, I do believe that he could, should, and would. Now, in terms of if we, in my mind, eliminate Byron Jones, we have Xavier, who is the CB1. And now, at the exact moment in time, you're going to imagine that Kader Kohu is CB2, which if you ask anyone, is there a problem with that? No, because I think I want to see him progress in that role. Now, here comes the importance, is re-signing Nick Needham. And I put out an article on Dolphin Wire today. of the importance of signing Nick Needham. Yes, I get he's coming off an Achilles. Do the research. He's going ahead of schedule. The agency that he has behind him is a new one. It's a top one. They're behind him. They're sending him to their training facility. There's about 4 teams outside the Dolphins that I can guarantee are looking at him right at the moment. He wants to be a Dolphin. The Dolphins wants to be him. I mean, the Dolphins want him. It's as simple as just matching the money.
Nick Needham in his post, what is the last, what do they call that? There's a name for it. But the last conversation that he had, the question was asked to him.
The exit interview.
Yeah, the exit interview. Thank you. I don't know why I had a brain fart there.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about.
He goes, no, the Dolphins have already reached out to me. They've already inquired that they want to talk. Right. So he's already said that publicly.
100%. I mean, here's the absolute situation with Needham, particularly. The Dolphins would love him back. Needham would love to go back to the Dolphins. Yes, of course, the Dolphins are going to say, of course, we might be a little worried with the injury. Now, even if there's 1,000% convincing and they show him and the training and the this and the that he's perfect, there's obviously still that concern. But Nick, on his concern, like anyone in his position, this is the contract to set him up financially. This is the contract that any player at his age and time of career will probably say, look, right now, let's see where the money's at. So if the Dolphins play ball in the park where a team comes in with some type of number and they're right there, because remember, we all know the taxes in Florida, whatever. If there's $1 million wiggle room, I believe that he would sway to the Dolphins. I truly do. Now, if a team comes out and blows a number out of the water, who's to say that a young kid like that can't take that money? But I do believe he is important enough with his ability to play slot, his natural ability to be an outside corner if need be. So if you're eventually going to think about the future and have Kader Kohu and Nick Needham on the outside, and then Javon Holland, Brandon Jones, Trill Williams, Verone McKinley III, this is a very nice young core.
So Trill has been active on social media the last few days, and he says his recovery is coming back really, really good. And I said at the beginning of the season when Trill was before his injury, I was so stoked for Trill Williams. I was like, this kid's going to be good. Kader Kohu came out of nowhere, 100%. But now I'm thinking, holy crap, if X comes back and is at no worse than what he was this year, okay, just be better, just be what you were this year or better, okay, and you put Trill Williams, Kader Kohu back there, and if for some reason we're able to get a guy like Jordan Poyer or Jesse Bates, I mean, dude, this would go automatically top one of the top secondaries from being one of the worst last year because of all the decimated with injuries, right?
It has to be, because when you look at them coming into this particular season, if you even wanted to throw in the Byron Jones potential, but whatever, losing Jones, Brandon, and Needham consecutively, that's killer on top of already using. And
I didn't even say Needham's name. Yeah, Needham's name
right.
too.
I mean, in consecutive weeks, we're talking. You know, the national televised game. Actually, what was it? It was Needham first, and then it was Brandon Jones, week 6 and week 7, Minnesota, and then Pittsburgh.
And Trill was hurt before the season
started. Right. I mean, so that even is more of a testament to a guy like a Kader Kohu and what he was able to do. Now, the importance of, I think, again, beyond football, of re-signing a guy like Nick Needham, because he's a terrific story for a coach or an organization to say, hey, this is an undrafted kid. He was cut, got back on the team, and now all of a sudden he's a 4-year, $25 million man. I mean, I'm just throwing out numbers here, but that's probably his market is around that's the market. You know, if a team wants to give him, $5, $6, $7 million a year, that's where he should kind of be at, I think.
BitBob66 says Trill's a keeper. Kohu and Trill will only be in their second season. Let me tell you, the fact that the Dolphins have the replacements at the corner position excite the hell out of me. Like, I am stoked because I'm not saying it's going to be, but man, the optimism for how good these two can be, they're gonna be really good. And by the way, for people that are a little critical of Kader Kohu, you have to realize an undrafted rookie, free agent, undrafted rookie, went toe-to-toe with some of the best in the NFL this year without a lot of help. He didn't have a lot of help this year. It was him. So where he might have gotten, killed on one side or whatever it is, the numbers are there. The numbers show he's a top 10 rookie in the NFL this year. Undrafted, mind you. Top 10 rookie in the NFL, undrafted. There's more than something there. You put Terrell Williams there, Nick Needham comes back, X is a little bit, stays the same guy at minimum. We're talking this year what he was. I'm telling you, man, it's going to be fun to watch that secondary. And I see a world. Look, for some reason I think Jesse Bates is coming here. I would love to see Jesse Bates in a Dolphins uniform. And you put him there with Javon Holland and Verone McKinley already there. Come on, man. That's some of the best secondary in the entire NFL.
I'm looking at an undrafted guy who was thrusted into that cornerback 2 role, who held quarterbacks to a 59.1% completion percentage and a QB rating of 81.7 when thrown to. I'm going to take that from an undrafted guy thrusted into the role any day of the week. Sunday, Monday, Thursday, or even when they play on Saturday.
Man, it's very, very interesting to see what the Dolphins will do moving forward with their secondary. Let me ask you another question. So Joe Shad reporting, say Vic Fangio told the Miami Dolphins website he used 2022, like professor on sabbatical with office set up for NFL film review. He's anxious to try out a few new coverages. He hopes to help franchise return to heights. Legendary Fangio plans to meet with local media in the near future. Forget that last part, but it sounds like he was locked in a dark room with a computer and a spreadsheet and was just I'm going to be a master of disguise. Like the evil genius, and he's going to release it with the Miami Dolphins defense. Does that not excite you? And do you not think that makes the Dolphins 1 to 2 games better, if not more than that? Because go ahead and answer that.
Yeah, I mean, the short answer is yes. It has to, because when you're trying to look for the 11 wins that a lot of people thought this team was going to have, you look at QB health, you look at defensive secondary health, and then you add Fangio, and you can't tell me that they're an 11, 12 win team. They are. So what Fangio could do is Fangio's got a great opportunity to be, I guess everyone wants to come into the company and be the missing link, right? I mean, everyone wants to look at a bottom line and say, all right, you were here when I wasn't here, but now I got here and now you're here. And Fangio has the background and the goods and the smarts to do that. And if this team goes to an 11, 12 win team and makes life on the offense easier, and they are ranking in the top 10 in defensive scoring and defensive yardage and sacks and turnovers and what have you, we're talking about a potential coordinator of the year and the most valuable person to the team potentially. And then, of course, you have to look at the players that he turns into those valuable pieces. And then you look at the young players and the player or players that I believe are going to have the best impact from him are the already marquee players like a Javon Holland, who could become a Pro Bowl consistent, even all pro with a guy like Vic Fangio. And then you hope that your younger also, your Brandon Jones is healthy, your Nick Needham's returns healthy and can benefit from Fangio. And then, of course, you hope that he attracts those linebackers, and I think that he can. So, yeah, he could be the most valuable person in this organization from now until the end of the year next year.
Let's talk about how he will we talked about the Greer situation with Fangio. There are some people in the fan base saying that, well, Fangio's the real head coach. He'll be the real head coach here. Let's just play that conversation out with people. Do you give it any validity? And do you think that there's 2 head coaches on this team? There's one on the offense and one on the defense. Or is it Fangio's really there to give all the support in the world to McDaniel and run the defense the way he wants to run it? And it is still McDaniel's team and will always be McDaniel's team. Like, what do you think about that?
It's an interesting dynamic. And I think that in this case, McDaniel has to, whether it's privately, or maybe behind the scenes, there's nothing wrong with asking questions or having talking shop and getting input from a guy like a Fangio. Now, if it's something that he could say, listen, McDaniel to Fangio, you got the D, I got the O, and I'll handle logistics. Would love your input. I'm guessing here. You know what I mean? But there has to be this the non-ego aspect of McDaniel, which I think that he has. I think that he could put aside ego and think that there's a guy in the building who can be a valuable resource. I mean, this is a smart dude in McDaniel. He gets it. He's obviously an academic-minded individual. Went to Yale, for God's sakes. I'm sure if he walked into a situation where there was an absolute master in their field as a professor, he'd absorb every bit of knowledge that he could from that individual. So I'm talking specifically with Mike McDaniel. I think that this is a terrific I saw someone say 60-40 McDaniel Fangio. Joe Levesque said that. I like that. I do. I really, really like that because it's McDaniel's team. It's McDaniel's team. But there has to be a lot of input and a lot of support from Fangio to an extent. It's almost like if a terrific executive came in and brought in a CFO to work on his CEO relationship to help out,
Anthony Manzano says, Stephen and Jason, this is my honest opinion. I think Vic Fangio is going to be the head coach in name only, and he's going to make the plate holes in controlling the clock management. I think I understand what you were trying to say there, but here's my honest opinion of it, Jason. Last year, I think that McDaniel had some flaws, right? And I thought that he made some mistakes that cost us a couple of games. I'm just going to throw that out there. We lost a couple of games last year because of decisions, outright decisions that McDaniel made. Okay. Now, am I mad at McDaniel? No. Do I know what I'm getting in a first-year head coach? 100% I do. That comes with the territory. Okay. And he had nobody in that building that he could really lean on for advice, support. He had to seek outside help if he was doing that, right? Because that defensive side of the ball was all the previous regimes, okay, with the exception of one or two people, right? And the offensive side of the ball, he was the head honcho, right? So there was nobody there. So the rumor is that Fangio was the guy that they wanted last offseason, all right, for the defensive side. And for whatever reason, it didn't work. I guess Fangio just said he wanted to take a year off, whatever that was, right? Now, that's the rumor. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if you've ever heard that scenario or anything like that, but neither here or there. The point is I'm trying to make, I remember multiple times last year where the play caller, who is Mike McDaniel, is having to pay attention on defense because he was not confident in Boyer and is walking down the sidelines and going, you got to clean this up. You got to do better. This is ridiculous. And so if your offensive play caller, who is the head coach, which I'm not normally a huge fan of, but with McDaniel, I'm 100% on board with, and I'm not questioning it at the moment. And he's not able to sit there and go over plays and review stuff with him because he's having to focus on. I think that he does not have that with Fangio, and I think he is okay with that. What you saw with him walking down to the sidelines and getting in Boyer's face,
you're never going to see
him with Fangio. That's never going to happen.
Because number one, I mean, from a respect standpoint, that's just number one, But I mean, when you're bringing in someone who, again, has the resume, has the track record, it doesn't even have to get to the point where Vic Fangio might need to say, I got it. It'll be fixed. Even if it doesn't even need to be fixed. He's got it. He's going to walk into that room, and I honestly don't think that McDaniel has to lose a wink of sleep over the defense.
Yep.
Now, when it comes to the intangibles of being a coach, I believe he was 1 in 5 or 1 out of 6 in correct challenges, McDaniel, going into the playoffs as well.
Yeah, and it was the very last game of the year he got his one right.
So he got in the regular season. I forget exactly whether it was the Jet game or the Bills playoff game. Whatever the case may be, he was correct once in 18 games. Timeouts, clock management, 4th and short.
All problems. All problems.
Correct. And again, I say this with the affection and the affinity towards Mike McDaniel. And if someone says, do you want McDaniel to be this coach for 20 years? The answer is yes, because that means success comes with it. And I'm fine with a guy like a McDaniel doing so with this team. But he has to learn from the mistakes and to sit down, to watch the tape, hopefully with Fangio. I hope that in a very friendly way.
Yep.
I hope in a very friendly way.
Monday morning, those two are sitting together and Fangio's giving him critique, right? He's saying, hey, look, I wouldn't have done this here. I would have done this here.
100%.
You know,
and
I would have, this is what I would have done. I understand this is why you did it, but let me tell you how I would have done it or what I would have thought in that process. That is my hope. And my hope is that even in the moment during the game that Fangio can call down and they can have a conversation with each other and they're like, no, don't do this here or do this here. Does that mean that McDaniel, but what I don't want to happen, and I think the only way it doesn't is as long as we're winning, right? Winning cures all. But if we start out the season, forget, wins, losses, but let's say mediocre in the first, 5 games, 6 games, the conversation is going to come up of who's in charge of this team. Why do we lose these games? Is it the offensive side? Is it the defensive side? If the defense is killing it and crushing it and the offensive side is not,
would be a weird
talk about how this channel will be on Wildin' Out Wednesdays. It'll be utter chaos, right? Or if Fangio straight drops the ball, which I just don't see happening personally. So, but that's the thing. I have all this confidence in Fangio because he's been a coach in this league for 30 plus years, because he's been a former head coach, because he's had top 5 defenses multiple times throughout his history in the NFL, not just one place or 2 places, multiple places. So I'm excited for him. And I think that I know we have the second hardest schedule in the NFL next year. I'm not worried about it with Fangio. I'm a lot less worried about it.
You know why I don't get worried about all the schedule nonsense, specifically this year for AFC and NFC East teams? Because you're playing the AFC East twice a year. This is the year we're playing the NFC East, and you had all those playoff teams from both those divisions in the playoffs this year and contenders. So, and also
there were 7 playoff teams between those 2 divisions.
Right. But you're also going to look at teams changing hands one way, shape, or form. Some will improve, some will stay the same, some will regress. So those percentages fluctuate. So I don't take a lot of stock into all of the scheduling percentages, strength of schedule, what have you, because last year strength of schedule came out and the Dolphins didn't have Tyreek Hill, and then you got him. Things change. Like I said, things change. But I think Fangio should be the mentor. The mentor to McDaniel, and I only think it's going to help McDaniel be a head coach.
I believe that as well. I just know that our fan base will try to find a way to, say this is. My hope is that the Fangio-McDaniel relationship stays just a really great and positive one and friendly one, and we see that personality or that relationship reflect in videos that the Dolphins will release on Sundays, or mic'd up situations, and I just want to see it come to fruition, right? And there is that question mark of how will this relationship work, because it's a very interesting one. It's a very interesting that we talk about the Fitzpatrick Tua situation 2 years ago, right? Where there's no way a 2-quarterback system can work in the NFL. It just doesn't work like you would in college. But I argued the fact that with Fitzpatrick and Tua, it worked for some reason, right? There was semi-success, probably the most 2-system quarterback. But I think it was because of the relationship that Fitzpatrick and Tua had for one another, right? So I look at that and I say, can the Fangio-McDaniel relationship, can there be 2 head coaches? Can there be a head coach of the defense and a head coach of the offense? Can that relationship really work in pro football? Or in football, period?
I mean, if I'm looking at a team and they start off 3-0, 4-0, 5-0, and things are working, then the answer is it could work. But if then, of course, we're talking a horrible reverse of that, you're looking at 0 or whatever, or 1-3 to start the year. You have to look at what's working, what's not, and then that's when, God forbid, you might have to analyze what the problem is. But I don't want to jump to that conclusion just yet, because everything really does add up for the Dolphins to improve with health, and now with fixing the weak link, which was the defense. And
does anybody imagine Mike McDaniel's second-year offense potential scary, in my opinion?
Well, right. Again, he is improving as a head coach, but his bread and butter is the offense. And when the offense was clicking, when Tua was on the field, this was an offense that could score points. It was an offense that could strike fear and could score at any moment. With Tyreek Hill, with Jalen Waddle, both of those guys can score at any moment. And if you tighten certain things up, which this season, hopefully they will in the offseason, with a little bit better interior line play, and I just want them to utilize the right runners consistently. I'm fine with Raheem Morris. I would actually be fine if they ran it back with Jeff Wilson Jr. too. Do I think that's going to happen? I don't. Because one of those guys is going to get paid a little bit more money than one of those guys will be offered more money than I think Miami wants to pay. So I think Miami might go one of them, and then someone fresh in the B or C rounds of the free agent market for running backs. I don't think we're getting Josh Jacobs. I don't think we're getting Saquon Barkley. I just don't. It's just not in the cards.
Caslin says, I see the offense taking 2 steps back and the defense taking 3 steps forward.
My math is 2
I hope that you're wrong, Caslin. I hope that you're wrong. You're entitled to your opinion, Kaz. Doesn't mean that it's right. Look, here's a reality to the situation. Most good coaches learn from experience. And we go back in history and we look at really good coaches. I'm going to give you a pro and con to this, right? Some of it might sound like I'm contradicting myself, but just bear with me. Let me cook with this. One of the best head coaches of all time. We're not talking Don Shula. I'm going to talk about Belichick for a second. He got 5 years with Cleveland, right? 4 or 5 years, whatever it was there. 3 to 5 years in Cleveland. He got a chance in Cleveland, and there was potential with those Cleveland Brown teams. Don't get it twisted. He helped build a decent program there that laid a foundation for that Baltimore Ravens early success, and potential playoff run down or Super Bowl win in the early 2000s. There were some people that were on that team that came from that Cleveland Browns 96 team, right? And you look at that situation and you say, man, and by the way, Chris Johnson with the $5 donation. Thank you. Miami fan, Dolphins dropped Vic Fangio. Did you see it? Yes, we did. We've already talked about it. Get back up to speed with us, Miami fan. Cruz Ruiz just donated $5. Says, thank God Caslin has 2 left feet. Y'all are too much. Thank you for donating this morning, guys. It means a lot. Thank you. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Belichick essentially is, besides Don Shula, one of the best head coaches of all time in the history of football, right? And we can say verbatim that his success didn't happen overnight. He got to learn under Bill Parcells' tutelage, be a great defensive coordinator, go to some Super Bowls, win a couple of Super Bowls with the Giants. He had success there with Bill Parcells. And then, he got to learn to be a head coach and build up, what worked and what didn't. By the time I think the reason he didn't go to the Jets, remember, he signed that contract to be the head coach with the Jets for one day and then left.
That was an enjoyable moment for me watching
the Jets blunder. It was like typical Jets.
The papers had a field day with that. I was loving it. But anyway.
And then the Patriots, for the next 20 years, like as a Jets.
And the joke was on me. Whatever.
I hate the Jets, but anyways, I say all that because I feel like my original token last year was I just want a head coach that's been a head coach and failed somewhere before, because I feel like you learn from your mistakes. And when you get a first year head coach, they're going to make mistakes and you have to let them work through it. I think the idea of having Fangio in the building, and some people are laughing, you're going to have somebody in the building who's tutoring or, giving tutelage to the head coach that's there. I think in this particular scenario, it's a positive thing. And good coaches learn from experience. And last year was an experience for McDaniel. And my hope that he learns from that. And now having Fangio, somebody who has all of this knowledge and information in the building, he can take that and mold that together. And my thought is, people that say that, he's not the only one Caslin's not the only one to say that the offense. I've seen that on social media for weeks now. McDaniel's going to take a step back in year 2. If Tua's the guy here, they're taking a step back. I think that's BS. You got to allow Mike McDaniel, all the signs point that he doesn't have to deal with the defense now.
Correct.
So he can focus more time on the offense than what he did before. There's so many facts to prove the theory that I have that it should improve, based on having a year experience, seeing what didn't work last year, and hopefully learning from that mistake. Now, I have also said in the same breath, Jason, that if he chooses to make some of the same mistakes next year, I'll be the first one to rip him. I'll be the first one on my show to be like, bro, you did this last year. You're doing it this year. You're being stupid. If we come down and I start seeing play clocks at 0, 2, 1, 0, and not hiking the ball. If I see, horrible, challenges and they're not doing good on challenges, come on, man. Some of this, it's got to improve. You got better communication. You should have upgraded that. And this is where it happens this offseason.
You said it in the communication. So that was his Achilles heel, and I hate using that pun or that metaphor. But basically, and this is something that my dad used to tell me. My dad coached me a lot, growing up. Still even says it now. If I tell him that I made a mistake or a failure or whatever, or just getting his tutelage, he said you can make 100 mistakes, but don't make the same mistake twice. Meaning, people make mistakes. You could make a ton of mistakes, but if you don't learn from an individual mistake, if you're making a repeat mistake, then that's when there's an issue. So, as you said, if it's a clock management situation where the Dolphins are within 30 seconds, 45 seconds of a last play to potentially put themselves in a position to win a game, tie a game, and it's a clock or a flag that comes into play next year, and we're saying that's happening again, or if we're seeing, well, man, he lost his first 4 challenges. Why are you challenging that? Number one, it's the first quarter. It's an insignificant play. And number 2, he's not going to win it. So there's a lot of things that I want to see not happen, but I'm not going to say that I need him to be perfect next year. If he makes mistakes, it can't be the same ones. That's the point.
Or continued of the same
exactly right.
ones. You can make one.
Learn. Exactly. But
Stuff
it can't
happens.
be here we
but
go.
If I start seeing it multiple, like we saw this year with the clock management or getting down to 0 and not getting a playoff in time and having to use timeouts for stupid shit.
And another example,
swear jar for myself, but come on, man. It was stupid stuff.
And then you have multiple situations on the inverse where a defensive coordinator, it's 3rd and 15, 3rd and 17, and he's giving up first downs or putting teams in position to put more points on the board. It's been
not having the right personnel.
Not having the right personnel, you get fired. And that's basically what happened.
There was a, by the way, Bip Bob says, I don't see us cutting Waddle or Hill anytime soon. So I disagree. Vic D and offense overall improves in 2023. Shout out to Bip Bob, because I agree with you.
I agree.
There was a still shot this year on social media that was trending for a little bit in the Dolphins Twitter community. And it was a 3rd and long. And we were on the 35 or 40 yard line. And he had people in the end zone.
That was LA. That was the Chargers. It was the Charger game. And the significance of a play like that, hindsight's 20/20. But when you look at a game that I believe you lost by 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
That should have been a situation where, from a defensive coordinator, where you say, you know what? Whatever you do, you're holding them to 3 points right now. So we can't give them more than 5-7 yards. You can't. If it's going to be a run, got him. If it's going to be a pass, rush him till it's a boom, boom play. Kick the 3 points. Do not let him get in the end zone. This is the Charger game. So what did he do, Boyer? He gave Austin Eckler, one of the best pass catching and kind of check down backs. He gave him 14 free yards. And he put that team in a position to say, all right, we can score here. Forget the 3. Let's get the 6 and then the 7.
There's no way Fangio makes that call in a game.
No way. There is no way
none.
An experienced or a smart person does it, because the math works out the way I just said it. You don't want to stop them from scoring. You want to put them in a position to score on the next play as well, because in this day and age, if it's 4th and 3 from the 3, Justin Herbert's going to want to go for it.
So we can blame Tua in the bad first half that he had in that game, and we can blame McDaniel for some play calling and interesting in there. But at the end of the day, what was the score? It was 3 points, right?
It was 3 points, and there's the man.
3 points.
And there's the man.
And so, look, everybody shares some blame, which is what I said, which is why I wasn't saying it was 100% on Tua, which is why I said it wasn't 100% on McDaniel, which is why I didn't say it was 100% on Boyer. But you can go back and you just change one of those things. That game ends differently, right? That game ends differently.
And again, it's the time of the game. It's going into a half. So you're sending them in scoring a touchdown, getting a celebration of 6 and 7 points instead of a defense saying, we held them to 3. Yeah. Now we're going to come out strong and win the half. But
and by the way, my other thing to this too, okay, is, we talk about second years, right? Tua's getting to work with an offense that's not changing. He gets to have the same playbook this year. He gets to have the same personnel package this year. You know how important that is, that he doesn't have to learn a new offense or learn a new coach or learn a new, system or somebody different in his ear calling the plays. It's all staying the same. You don't think that's going to give him some confidence to improve even more? Like, all that makes a difference. Caslin 143 says, the sooner you realize that it is a very gimmicky offense with extremely limited plays, you will understand why it said that.
What I want to say about the offense is the nuances that I enjoyed with play fake, certain, ways that Tua would, turn prior to the pass. I mean, there were a lot of kind of mental smoke screens before the play actually went on for McDaniels. And I like that. I like the motion. But they have to do more of what worked. And when things are working, they can't deviate from that. Like, especially with, again, the running. Another thing that McDaniel had a mistake with was, if you're getting 5 yards of carry on the ground, because there were chunks of the season where they were consistently doing that, because you had 4.7, 4.8 between Mostert and Wilson as their yards per carry average. I mean, there really was solid aspects of the run game at certain points of the season, and they should have kept that going. So I hope that they expand the offense a little bit in creativity. But ultimately, I think that when the pieces are rolling the right way, I like the way he schemes up the pre-snaps.
I'd like to see more jet sweeps this year. I'm not going to lie.
I know someone's laughing because I know that we used that word over and over and over again. But lo and behold, they did certain things like that once or twice. And the point is, if McDaniel is known as this guru, this offensive creative wizard, I'd like to see. I'd almost like to be shoved in the face with it, until it doesn't work. So I want to see more sporadic fun.
Let's all right. We talked about the coach. We talked about some personnel. Let's talk about free agents coming in potentially. So one of the things that I think is very interesting for me, I'm going to state for the record, my main priority for the Dolphins this offseason, middle linebacker,
100%,
offensive line,
100%, and
maybe somebody in the secondary. Okay, those are the 3 places. Because if you improve on all 3 of those phases of things, and you re-sign Jeff Wilson, you don't have to go out and get a potentially an incoming free agent from somewhere else. So and you don't go out and get a tight end because you work with what you have in the building here with Durham Smythe, Tanner Connor, Ethan Carter, who was hurt last year, as well as Alec Ingold, who played a lot from the tight end set this year, right? And won't have that broken arm like he did at the end of the year, or broken hand, or whatever it was. Okay. I don't think you need to go out and get a tight end. And I think if you improve the offensive line, I am okay with Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert in the backfield, along with what's his face?
Savon Ahmed.
Savon Ahmed. Okay. Our boy from ZSM Sports, Savon. So I think those three, I think, are a big thing. Are you okay if the Dolphins only go after an offensive lineman on the offensive side and don't address anywhere else except maybe in the draft? Maybe you go out and get somebody at the running back situation, maybe. But I would want them to focus 100% on the offensive line and some of the defense, getting the defense more in order on the linebacking side as well as the secondary side.
Yes, I'm with you there. Drafting offensive linemen, extremely hit or miss. I mean, yeah, you could look at a Robert Hunt and be happy, but then we could look at some of the things that have not worked out recently. My money is not on Austin Jackson or Liam Eichenberg to be 3, 4, 5 years down the line a starter on this offensive line. So I would hope that they take care of right tackle or left guard from. If you're going to shop in a premium aisle offensively in free agent, if you're going to spend big money, it's got to be to protect your quarterback in one way, shape, or form. So that's telling me you got to go out and get a right tackle. You got to go out and get the best right tackle available, because I think that was the weak link. And tell you the truth, if I never like to say cut a guy or try to trade a guy, but Austin Jackson, to me, if he's in the future plans, I would be shocked. I think he's expendable. I think left guard Liam Eichenberg, expendable. So if you could upgrade there with a veteran, that's something that I would say you got to spend that money. You got to explore, because I don't want to see, unless it's some sort of an unbelievable prospect falling to the second round, your best offensive line, what are you going, like pick 18 to 37 to 40? Dolphins are not there. So I don't think the Dolphins are going to have a premium blue chipper at the
if offensive line, they have to go out and get in free agency.
Have to.
Okay. Have to. Linebacker, so the two places the Dolphins must get in free agency: offensive line and middle linebacker.
1,000%.
Everywhere else, you can draft. You can bring in a veteran somewhere that's maybe not as good. You're not necessarily looking for all-star caliber player, but you need a great middle linebacker, and you need another really, really good starting caliber offensive lineman, plus a backup to go along with it. That's good too. They need to go get 2 offensive linemen minimum, one being a solid starter, like really good starter, and then they need a middle linebacker.
Throw what Bobby Supreme just put up there. I like what he said, because I've been a true center, and prior to that he said left guard Connor Williams needs to be. Look, if we move Connor Williams to left guard because there is a legit center, then that's fine. I'm not in any way, shape, or form ripping or going against Connor Williams' performance at center this year. Played every snap, did well. High snaps were not an overall terrible issue. So I'm okay with that. It's, to me, if you get the better left guard, you leave Connor at center. But if you could find an absolute center, this organization's had some killer good centers. I mean, going back to Dwight Stevenson, Tim Ruddy, Mike Pouncey, it's been a little bit of a lull of a dominant center in this organization, especially when you have a quarterback that you want to excel, kind of needs that awesome center. Is it Connor Williams? I don't know, but there is flexibility there, and I'm glad he mentioned that, Bobby, on Connor and left guard center.
Yeah, I say all that because I don't want the Dolphins to go out and spend money on a running back that's not needed. I don't want them to go out if they don't address those other needs, and if the Dolphins go out and get Saquon Barkley or Josh Jacobs but don't address the offensive line, I'm going to consider that a fail.
That's, to me, buying a Ferrari with a busted engine.
Yep.
I mean, it looks great, but when you want to show it off and really perform on the road, you look like an idiot because it's only going 100 yards,
I'm going to say if the Dolphins go out and get Dalton Schultz or Darren Waller, who could be available, that's a fail. Okay? That's a fail. because you don't need it.
Correct.
You need to address the O-line. You have to address the O-line. If they do not address the O-line, all this is irrelevant. And you making the argument for Tua being your starting quarterback, that's a case that is less and less arguable from fan's perspective or anybody's perspective. You have to improve that O-line. Have to. 100% have to.
Defensively, the premium shopping is 1,000% middle linebacker. That's where you want to see the money.
Cherry picking my comment. Read the whole one. It has limited plays that called because our quarterback can't run a full offense.
I mean, with that said, I think that McDaniel was putting Tua in the best position for success, and mixed with the receivers that he has, it could continue to work to the tune of what we were seeing. He was a number 1 rated passer. He was number 1 in several categories. So I don't care what he's not doing. I just want to maximize what he is doing. And that's all I care about, really.
Yeah, look, I believe that. I just, the Dolphins said, Greer said at his exit press conference that the Dolphins wouldn't be as aggressive as they were this past offseason. I think that they're going to be more strategic. I still think they'll make a couple of big signings. And my hope is that it comes in the form of the offensive line and a defensive middle linebacker. And I would I still think getting somebody like Jesse Bates or Jordan Poyer, I mean, come on, like adding that to the secondary, either one of those guys would be. And there's still, and besides those two, there's still like 2 or 3 other guys that play safety that are available that I would just love to see. And you put them with Ferrone McKinley and Javon Holland, and I mean, all day. And if Byron doesn't come back, we'll see what happens. But it'll be interesting to see as they move forward. All right, let's talk about something else. Let's switch gears for a minute. Let's talk about special teams, man. One of the things that I thought was very interesting with all the decisions of coaching and changes and everything is that Danny Crossman still has a job as the special teams coordinator. Why is that, Jason? Why is Danny Crossman still here?
I don't know. One of the weaker units in coverage. You're not really, as an NFL team, supposed to give up really a lot of yardage on kickoff returns. Dolphins had a few games, and I've said it once or twice, that it was bad. I mean, coverage was bad. They didn't, no punt returns or kickoff returns that was worth really anything other than Cedric Wilson in the playoffs, and it took that long, to show up. And they weren't even using him as a returner to begin with. It was almost like a forced situation. So with Tyreek Hill coming in, Cedric Wilson was expendable from a depth chart perspective. So they really got to get their stuff together from the return game, both kickoff and punt, as well as a coverage aspect. And why Danny Crossman is still retained, I don't know. But we'll see if he can fix it up with the personnel. Because again, injuries happen, and there were injuries on coverage aspects of the units as well. Stephen Carter, good special teams player too. He was hurt. So
yeah, look, I just want to state for the record, I don't see Stephen Carter as a starter, but here's the thing. I think what does he say in Moneyball? And the aggregate,
aggregate, I love it.
In the aggregate, you can make the perfect tight end. And I think that through Durham Smythe, through Tanner Connor potentially, Stephen Carter, and maybe even Hunter Long, I think you have something there that in the aggregate, you have 4 quality, and then Alec Ingold, who got a lot of time at tight end. You have more than the capability of running the type of style offense that you want. Do you have that big name tight end that you had in George Kittle in San Francisco for McDaniel? No. But is there another George Kittle? No, there's not. If there was, could we afford him? No, we could not. I go back to the Moneyball reference, right? So, I say that are we going to regret getting rid of our boy number 88 Gesicki? Yes, we will. But only because he's going to be successful wherever he goes.
I agree with you there.
But that doesn't mean he was the good fit or the right fit.
I agree. I mean, look, I get it. And I even put it on Twitter today. Some people jump on the bandwagon. Some people are going against it in terms of, I believe it was a fail to not get the best out of Gesicki. I get why. I understand that he wasn't a match for the system because all tight ends receivers really need to block in this scheme. I get it. What I don't get is how, if you're going to franchise him, which they did, and you're not going to trade him, which they didn't, throughout the lifeblood of this season, they should have used him more as not a positional player, meaning I don't care where he lines up. Line him up as an X or a Z, which he's done in the past, which they did late in the year. He did it in the Buffalo game. Line him up, not necessarily as a tight end, but as an offline slot player. Don't call him a tight end. Call him a target. Call him a weapon. And when a guy has 73 receptions last year, and then he goes to 52 targets this year, I think is an indictment on the creative genius that we had, who I think failed in this aspect of the offense. He could have gotten a lot more out of Gesicki this year, regardless of the block. I don't use him as a blocker. Put Durham Smythe in as a blocker. Put Tyreek Hill as an X. Put, Jalen Waddle as a slot, and throw Gesicki as the Z. More often than not.
Now let me play devil's advocate here and contradict my own thought. I said, okay, in the aggregate, those guys will be more than accurate enough to be a tight end, but they weren't this year, though, right? So does that mean they need to go out and get a tight end too? And so I just want to play devil's advocate there with that statement, because I think it's fair to at least call myself out on that, hey, look, if we feel like that, then obviously Durham Smythe isn't good enough. Obviously, Ethan Carter, who was hurt this year, by the way,
right,
might not be it. But, look, do you think we go out and get a tight end?
Probably
I know
not.
we stepped away. I wanted to get into Danny Crossman, but I know we stepped away from that.
I mean, it was not so much to talk with Crossman. It was bad. You hope it improves. And what else could you say? He was bottom 5 in the league in both aspects.
I just don't understand how you retain him.
There is a relationship there. And again, these go back to relationships. I mean, sometimes relationships could get a little bit of the better of the product, and it might give the benefit of the doubt to the coach.
But he wasn't even his guy. He was retained over from the previous regime.
Yeah.
And for the most part, they've gotten everybody else out of the previous regime out the door.
I mean, it's interesting, but let's see what happens. I mean, we loved a guy like a Darren Rizzi, but
we were spoiled with him for 5 regimes. We never, through 5 coaching regimes, we never once had to worry about special teams. Not once.
Correct.
Darren Rizzi had it on lock. Every coach that came through said, nope, Darren Rizzi, do your thing, man. Whatever you think to do, do. And we were always at the top in special teams in the league, in top tier, because he just knew. He knew how to work it, right? I think that one of the things that I just want is I want the Dolphins to make better decisions with personnel. And I'm interested to see the dynamic between Fangio, McDaniel, Crossman, and Greer, and how they kind of, all right, how does this team look moving forward? How do they get better this offseason? And my hope is that if you said that you're not going to be as aggressive as you were last offseason, that's fair, but make the picks that you do, or the signings that you do get, count. Don't, that's what we need.
Because we got to set a bar here too for the offseason. Last year they signed 19 people, in free agency. And that's not even including bringing in Bradley Chubb, who they extended to a brand new contract, So there was a lot of action last year with Tyreek Hill, with Teron Armstead, namely those two, and then, of course, Chubb. So there was a lot of money spent last year. I know there will be money coming off the books, and we're going to have Brandon Shore do his salary cap magic, but to get 2 or 3 huge names, because I hear, everyone's saying we're going to get Poyer, we're going to get a running back, we're going to get a linebacker. I think we're going to get 1 or 2 of those premiums, but then there's going to be some re-signings of retaining those Dolphins, and there might be a couple of B and C level depth signings, as we have seen this regime do often. But I just don't see a ton of money being spent on multiple A-plus pieces this year. I hope I'm wrong, because this is the year to spend it on running backs, but they just don't do that. They just don't have that in their formula.
Of those 19 people, how many of them was our own guys we brought back?
No, I mean, there was a ton of new players: Trent Sherfield, River Craycraft, Thomas Morstead, Melvin Ingram, Bradley Chubb later in the year, Tyree
Morstead was one of the best punters in the league this year.
Cedric Wilson. A lot of those guys were from other teams. Connor Williams. Raheem Mostert. Most of these players that I mentioned were free, not re-signed Dolphins players from other teams that they brought in.
All right. Miami Sports Music's #1 Miami fan morning show, Clock Blockers, right here on Spread Kindness Friday. Donate to the channel, help the channel grow. You guys have done a decent job donating this morning. Thank you very, very much to the people that have been donating. Shout out to Kazlan, Cruz, just everybody that's been donating. It's a big deal. Chris Johnson, Miami Fan Talk Show, Kazlan a whole bunch of times. Chef Zhu even did this morning. Bip Bop. Thank you all for donating. Keep them coming in. They only help the channel grow and help them move forward. So the more the merrier. All right. We got a little bit of time left. Sounds like we're both going to the movies today. You going to see Ant-Man?
Can't wait. My son wanted me to get tickets weeks ago. He's been on me with this.
Thinking about it.
Loves Marvel. Can't wait. I'm a Marvel guy too, so we're excited. You got a 1 o'clock show.
I'm trying to figure out what to do with the kids this afternoon, but as soon as they get off here, we'll figure it out.
I mean, if the weather was nice, we'd be doing outside stuff too, but unfortunately the weather's garbage here, so perfect day for a movie.
Yes, Fangio. All right, we'll talk about this real quick and then we'll come back to the present. Because it was cool. Yes, I saw that Emmitt Smith said he wanted to be a Miami Dolphin, and Shula said no to it. I did see that. Did you see that, Jason?
No.
In '93? Yeah.
Emmitt said yes. Yeah,
Emmitt Smith said in an interview this past week that he wanted to be a Miami Dolphin. He wanted to come play with Dan Marino in 1993, and Shula said no.
Yeah, I just did not need to know that. Do you know how different my life would have been? Like, does anyone realize how different Dolphin fans' lives would have been if we
That's unbelievable to kind of think about, right? Like Emmitt Smith in the backfield with Dan Marino in their primes.
I mean, the funny thing
Come on.
If only Ricky got to Dan for one last year, that would have been amazing too. But oh my God. So just imagine that. I can't.
Well, I've heard the Barry Sanders story.
I've heard the Barry Sanders too.
The Barry Sanders story I knew had some legs to it, and that was Barry had a backdoor deal with the Dolphins on the table, and Detroit was like, nope, not doing it. We're not getting rid of you. We're not trading you. But the Emmitt Smith one just makes me even like the fact that it came out of Emmitt Smith's mouth was like, are you kidding me? Think of all the players that the Dolphins could have had. Drew Brees, Emmitt Smith, Barry Sanders, Dante Culpepper the first time, not the second time.
Don't even. We're going down a bad road here.
I know. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. All right. Not that I'm going to be changing the topic to something that's even more positive. Okay. We got to talk about this, man. We'll wrap up the day and get everybody worked up for it. How about that?
Perfect.
We're talking about all these changes that the Dolphins need to make. We've had a really good time talking about it this morning.
I want to answer Von Joe's question real quick. 17, Von Joe. We're from different teams, my dude. 17 of those free agents / traded for us. 17. Anyway.
They said Emmitt was in his 12th year. Chef Zhu said that's true about the Barry Sanders coming here. Yeah, dude, I've heard that story. Emmitt in 93 was still a beast, guys. Like, come on now. Was still a beast.
And he would have been running also behind Richmond Webb and Keith Sims. Oh my God. Why?
Just listen, man.
Hal Habib put that evil on us. Now we have to go to bed every night the rest of our lives knowing that Emmitt Smith could have been
Emmitt, you're killing us, Emmitt. Thank you, Emmitt Smith. For just we're already hurt as a fan base. Fractured. Okay. Well, why not throw the salt on an open wound a little bit more? Let's talk about Tua. Let's talk about Tua, Jason.
Hey, we've made it this far.
We've made it this far. Why not talk about him to end the show today? we talk about all these different changes. We talk about going to get a middle linebacker, improve the offensive line, X, Y, and Z. Why are fans still clamoring, a portion of the fans, not all of them, that all these moves are irrelevant? Doesn't matter that we have Fangio. Tua. If he's the quarterback, it does not matter. There is a portion or a population of the fan base that are just adamant that it doesn't matter anything else that we do, that if Tua's the guy here, it doesn't matter. And the second part of that is we've talked about backups coming to Miami and playing behind Tua this year. Who should that backup be? Dolphins will have three quarterbacks next year. Odds are, all right. All signs point to, Skylar's going to return, but he'll be the third string. Somebody else will come and be the backup. And again, the portion of the population of the fan base are like, you guys are sitting here talking about Gardner Minshew, Baker Mayfield, potentially. I've said Jimmy Garoppolo this week because Pro Football Focus has him at a 1-year deal, $15 million. And I think the Dolphins would be stupid not to try to go after him at that deal as the backup here. But just for the sake of the conversation, Mitchell Trubisky is somebody else that's also been named this week as well, too. You're okay with the backup conversation. If Tua's the guy that they're going with, so be it. Let's talk about the backup situation, right? How do we explain that to the rest of the fan base that is just clamoring that does not matter that we got Vic Fangio? It doesn't matter that we're going to go out and get a middle linebacker. It does not. Help me help you, Jason.
Oh, I wish it was that simple. With the Tua situation, there's a lot of components that you got to think about, because you're looking at $24 million this year that $24 million. Daniel Jones is probably going to be $35 million per year. So if you're looking at $11 million really for your backup quarterback, right? That's tolerable in my estimation. So to me, you got to get the best backup quarterback you can, meaning that's your job, is a backup quarterback. Now, the problem with certain players on the market, like a Derek Carr, like a Jimmy Garoppolo, like a Baker Mayfield, they don't want to be a backup quarterback because they want to be a starting quarterback. If someone like that is brought into Miami, we're going to have a problem, because it's a good problem or it's a bad problem. When there's two quarterbacks that belong as starters, it's not leading to good. You know what I mean? So by the
way, anything but $10 million. It needs to be 11 or 9, Jason. Cannot be 10 million. If anybody comes in on a $10 million 1 year, I'm going to lose my mind, just so you know.
I'm not an accountant, but
okay. I'm just telling you.
When
it's been a 10-year, 1-year deal, it has worked out horribly for us in recent history. Just straight trash. Okay.
What am I lying about, Vanjo?
Well, it's about people that are optimistic about it, that we're spreading false hope to the fan base by saying this, right? No. Vanjo is one of those people. I love Von. Von's my brother from another mother, but Von is one of those people, along with Lewis, along with the rest of the Wolf Pack, that are just so adamant that it does not matter what these changes are. That Tua is here. It's still, we're not a good football team with Tua.
So
I just don't think that's fair.
I'm going to go dark.
I'm going to go dark, and I don't think that's fair.
I'm going to go dark than the rest of the time. Then, inevitably, irrevocably, we're just going to be a mediocre franchise, because this is the type of content that Vanjo wants to hear. So, I just don't think it's even worth watching football anymore, Steven. I think I'm just going to throw in the towel. I'm just going to stop. Tua is the quarterback I'm going to give up. I can't do it.
There's the truth, Jason.
I'm just gonna. You know what I'm gonna do, Vanjo? I'm just gonna take my sorry self to CVS, load up on 3 for $4 snacks, and take my kid to the movies. That's what I'm gonna do.
Mediocre. That's what we are.
And I'm gonna go watch a mediocre movie because I'm building it up too much in my head.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of reviews are 50-50, but I'm excited to see Kang. All right.
He's going to disappoint me because I've heard Kang not go with the clock management. Movie should be 2.5 hours. Ran 2:45.
That's what's up, Jason. Welcome to reality.
I feel better, Von Joe. I'm going to live in this cloud.
I love how Jason just did that to y'all. Yes. Look. I understand two things. Tua is yet to play a full season. Okay. He hasn't done it. But when Tua's on top of his game, he's a top 12 quarterback in this league.
I've never seen such polarizing talk of when a player does so well and how he's God, or when a player is not doing well and he's literally worse than another God-fearing quarterback who we saw, who was a lefty in the NFL, and no disrespect to him, but it's like you can't ever compare Tua to a guy like a Tim Tebow, or Tua's good. He actually is good. Is he amazing? Knock out of the park, phenomenal? No, I'm not saying that. But when things go right and are put in the right position, he can deliver. He has proven that, and I do think that if just given the right situations consistently, and if he stays healthy, he could win 12 games for this Dolphin team mixed with the defense.
Just says at least Kang can move through alternate universes. The Dolphins can't.
Oh, let's talk about that. Imagine if we had a
there's an alternate universe that Barry Sanders came to the Dolphins. There's an alternate universe where Emmitt Smith went to the Dolphins. There's an alternate universe where yeah, come on, dude, where we chose Drew Brees over Dante Culpepper. Okay, those alternate universes exist.
Oh, it's really tough. Thinking about what could have been, it's always the worst.
Look, here's the thing. I look at the glass. I understand that it's half full. I understand what we're up against. I understand the obstacles that surround Tua Tagovailoa. But I know that Tua wants to be the best quarterback that he can be, right? Like the drive and heart is there. Can't question his drive. Can't question his work ethic. Can't question his heart. Kid's got it all, right? From that standpoint. And we've seen him play at an unbelievable high level this past year in certain situations. Better than any of the previous 20-plus quarterbacks post Dan Marino. Let's call that out there. That includes Jay Fiedler. Okay? No offense to Big J. That includes Jay Fiedler. That includes Chad Pennington. That includes Ryan Tannehill. Okay? So, and Cleo Lemon and Tyler Thigpen and anybody else you want to throw in there. Gus Frerotte, Trent Green, you name it, better than any of those guys.
Joey Harrington.
Joey Harrington.
AJ Feely.
Damon Heward.
My head. Jay Cutler.
Oh my God, Jay Cutler. There's the first year. There's the first 1 year, $10 million contract that we should have known. 1 year, 10 mil, fail. We sign anybody this offseason to 1 year, $10 million. I am automatically putting that in the fail, and I have no hope for them. It could be the best player in the world. If we sign them to a 1 year, $10 million deal, I am cutting like it's
Cutler
no.
Curse.
It is the Cutler curse. That is what we're going to call it on this show. 1 year, $10 million deals are Cutler curses.
The check might as well just say void on it.
Yep. Might as well just give $10 million to a guy who's going to catch 4 passes for us in a year. Okay? AKA Will Fuller.
Oy.
Okay?
Oy.
No Cutler curses up in this building.
I'm with you there.
Look, man, we're going to wrap up here and do final thoughts of the day. Look, I'm going to choose to look at the glass half full. I'm going to choose to look at it as, man, McDaniel's got some stuff off of his plate now that Fangio's in the door, and Fangio's going to be able to help him. And we didn't even talk about this. Fangio's going to be able to help Tua.
You know what? It was funny. I wanted to jump in and say that, but just didn't know how to really communicate it the right way. But yeah, you're going to be seeing Vic Fangio's defense. You're going to be seeing Fangio's defense in practice. Iron sharpens iron. That helps.
You don't think Fangio's going to be with that offense a little? Hey, this is what Tua's going to see. Hey, Fangio shut down Tua that 1 year that he was with Denver. Straight shut them down. Knew exactly how to play them.
Take Tua into a film room and break down defense. He was consulting the Eagles offense and how to,
Hey, Fangio, can you go in the film room with Tua? Go, yeah.
Show him how this works. Show him how that works. Show him this scheme. Show him this. Show him film from, this Buffalo game, this New England game.
Everybody's there to make this team better. Fangio is one of those people. We are hot take. Hot take. The Miami Dolphins will be Super Bowl contenders this coming up season. They will win at least one, if not two, playoff games.
The
Miami Dolphins will win the AFC East. I said it. And what?
Now we're thinking a little. I'm
not going to be like Fangio. I'm not going to be like the Wolf Pack. I refuse to be like Lewis and all the rest of these people out here. I'm not going to do it. Love don't live here no more. We're not going to do that. We're all about positive takes, positivity, hope. I'm gonna be like the New Day. Clap for your heavyweight world tag team champions. New Day rocks. I'm sorry, my WWE kind of got in there for a second. All right, I like the New Day. I like the New Day.
Nothing wrong with that.
Look, here's the reality. We are a good football team. We made the playoffs last year. Okay?
Despite the problem.
Despite everything. Despite it all. Your negativity don't live here no more, Fangio. Not having it. Just don't guarantee anything, Steven. We know how that always ends. New Day rocks. New Day rocks. I love me some New Day. I love New Day. Big E's my boy. Xavier Woods. I'm sorry about WWE. I don't even watch WWE like that as much as I want to anymore. I used to watch it all the time, but I love New Day. Big New Day.
I used to love it.
I love doing the show on Fridays. It's
a blast, man. Look forward to it, dude. This is a lot of fun. It's always
Steven has been compromised. Oh man. Steven, stay away from Alex with the horrible takes. All right, if you enjoyed the show today, hit the like button, donate to the channel. Somebody donate $50 to the channel right now. Donate 50. Let's see if somebody does it. Donate $50. Help this channel grow. PBS. We're PBS. Well, PBS, Miami Sports Music, is a channel that is provided and paid for content by the fans. We can't go anywhere without your public. You know how PBS is. I was trying to say it like they do. I don't watch PBS.
Steven's handing out tote bags and beer koozies here.
You call now. But wait, there's more. You do it now, you get clock blockers every morning right here on the Miami Sports Music Podcast Network.
More programs.
Love it. Cruz Ruiz says, I'm on a donation restriction from the wife. Okay, well, I tried. Somebody somewhere will donate 50 one day. Caslin says, $5 donation. He says Fangio shuts down mediocre quarterbacks and ones who can't adjust. How is he going to help a mediocre quarterback who can't adjust? Stop it, Steven.
Kevin Lee, I need your address. Throw me your address. I need an address.
I have it.
Send me.
I'm giving it to you, I thought.
Kevin Lee, I didn't get his address yet.
Oh, I thought I gave it to you.
No.
I might have sent it on Twitter.
Oh, darn Twitter. Send it somewhere.
I'll send it again.
There you go.
Donate. Vonjo says donate now if you agree with Vonjo.
Oh, no. Can't do that.
Nobody's going to donate, Vonjo.
Can't do that.
Okay. Nobody's going to donate.
Anthony's comment about Tua throwing that up there. Another criticism.
Tagovailoa LLC has donated enough for these homer takes. Get out of here. All right. What are you doing this weekend, man? What are you doing?
Oh, yeah. Today we're going to hit the movie up. We got that puppy I told you about. So we have a puppy class tomorrow.
What kind of dog did you get?
A Bernedoodle.
What is it next to you? Do you have it? Can you pick it up?
I do not have it. Ollie, he doesn't listen to me. His name is Ollie. But my kids love it. I think he's outside.
No,
with my
not
oldest daughter.
Ollie.
Ollie. Ollie. Ollie.
Ollie. Shout out to Chris Johnson for the $5 donation.
So he is not he's not near camera, but he's keeping us up.
No dogs here. No animals here. I think we're gonna hang out as family for the rest of the weekend. I'm gonna watch some NASCAR left turns, baby.
Big weekend for you.
500.
This is the time where this is a big weekend for you. This is the time where my wife knows that football's over. So Sunday we will be doing something. I just don't know what yet.
Chris Johnson donated agreeing with me with that take. He didn't say that. False. Just talking about false stuff out here, man. I'm just gonna here. So on Friday, two things that are big for me. It's Spread Kindness Friday. Want to remind you guys, you're loved. There's always somebody that is there for you. If you feel that you're down in the dumps, or you're depressed, or you just feel alone, or you feel like world is not enough and it's not worth living no more, do not feel like that, man. You are loved. There's somebody that's here. We are part of your family. And if you can't talk to somebody, you can always talk to somebody on 988, the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Just remember that that's a big deal. And I always want to support that. No more suicides, man. Just no more of that, man. You are loved, and there's always somebody there for you, man. You always have somebody. I've been in that shoe. I've been in those shoes. I felt like that. Recently. And so just know that you're loved, and there's always somebody there. And you guys are the best. I love doing this show on Fridays. It is probably my favorite show, Spread Kindness Friday. And I love you all, seriously. And I'm excited to do the show with you, Jason, each and every Friday. I'm so glad you're doing this with me. I
love it, man. I look forward to it weekly, and every Friday I'm ready to roll. As you can see, a couple of hours earlier, sending you a "Let's roll" message and waking you up. So sorry.
I love you, brother. All right, man. It is the #1 Miami fan morning show. It is Clock Blockers. We had fun today. It was a good day. Come and hang out with us. On Monday, no, I'm not going to be on Monday. I'll be back on Tuesday. I'm not going to be here Monday. I'll see y'all on Tuesday.
Have a good weekend.
And Jason, you'll be back next week.
You know it.
Have fun, ladies and gentlemen. Peace.
Whole squad been trained to go. Fence for life, we throw the folk. Singing this just to welcome bro. To a time, to a time. Time to grind, time to shine. To a time, to a time. To a time, to a time. To a time, to a time. Time to grind, time to shine. To a time, to a time. To a time, to a time. My intuition told me this. To trust the coach, he holds the gift. He knowing when to go with fits. So we knowing when to switch. This year we got the golden pick. Time to see what that pick about. Bad vibes get sent out. Only fans up in this house. We been waiting, yeah.